And guys, I have to say, I genuinely feel bad for the millions of people who voted for Mkhonto weSizwe. They had to defend themselves when critics said they were voting for a family stokvel, not a political party. They had to defend themselves when critics said MK was just Jacob Zuma, an independent candidate running as a party. And then they did so well in the election, guys, they came third. But then they insisted, MK, that they'd actually won the election. They said there were 9 million votes missing. They said they could prove the election was rigged. It is now 9 months later. Babies have been born since MK first said that. And they haven't got even one single piece of evidence to show mass election rigging. And also since then, MK has been locked out of government everywhere. They've largely performed badly in by-elections. They've been riven with infighting. One of MK's stars, disgraced former judge John Hlophe, has been accused of sexually inappropriate behavior from another member of MK. MK celebrated Trump's return to power in the US and lauded him as a beacon of hope just a few weeks ago. There have been massive reports of infighting over Floyd Shivambu joining MK. Many prominent MK members want Floyd gone, even though Jacob Zuma personally headhunted him and selected him as Secretary General to use his know-how to build out a full political party. Jacob Zuma is in court again, when is he not? And now his daughter Duduzile is also in court, charged under the Terrorism Act for what she did during the July 2021 riots. And then this last week, Duduzile Zuma committed an act of political terrorism against her own party, her dad's party. Yes, let's talk about it. South Africa's biggest Nepo baby went on Twitter around midnight a little while ago. Already a bad sign, on Twitter at midnight. Then she started tweeting around midnight. Very, very bad sign. First, she tweeted that she would, quote, stand and fight with the real co-founders of MK. Fair enough. Then she tweeted, Floyd, I'm not scared of you. Tell your minions to f off. Bloody mafikizolos. Girl, put down the phone. You're acting like a scorned lover. And that time of night, the swearing, the capital letters, the repeated exclamation points. I don't know if you were drinking, but you're coming across like you were drinking. Put down the phone. But then it got worse because she did not put down the phone. Next, she just tweeted plain and simple 3 words, you, Floyd. Then she retweeted a picture of Floyd Shivambu, who I will remind you is the Secretary General of MK, her party, her father's party. And on the retweet, she wrote, all caps, worst thing that happened to MK. I shouted because they were all caps. I want you to understand how she was expressing herself. And just in case you're thinking, wow, Dan, this can't get any worse. Oh, ye of little faith. Ye of little faith in Duduzile Zuma. Because then some MK account, I can't believe I'm going to say this on TV. Some MK account tweeted, quote, you touched Floyd Shivambu, you're touching us. Do you know what she said in response to that? Go touch yourself then. Whoa. Now, guys, call me old-fashioned, but I miss the good old days when powerful politicians acted like the best of us. Can you imagine Nelson Mandela going on Twitter in the middle of the night and telling someone to go themselves? It's like beyond. These Duduzile tweets are in the style of an angry white boy teenager dark web incel. You know what I mean? Go touch yourself then. And then, can you believe this year some people have had the audacity to say Duduzile is this generation's Winnie Mandela? Can you imagine? More like Winnie the Pooh, or Dudu the Dudu, if you will. Toilet humor has its place, guys. It has its place. So that was around midnight. A few hours later, the same night, 2 a.m., Floyd Shivambu, who I don't think has slept in weeks, he tweeted an official statement from the office of the president of MK. The statement said Duduzile Zuma's tweets were insulting to the Secretary General, unacceptable, divisive, denigrating, offensive. They whipped out the dictionary for that one. It ordered Duduzile to immediately issue an unconditional public apology to Floyd Shivambu, the MK president and the members, and all the people of South Africa. That statement said that after Duduzile's apology, there'd be a disciplinary proceeding. And it said that if Duduzile did not immediately unconditionally apologize to Floyd and the rest, she would have her MK party membership terminated and she would lose all her duties. And the real kicker was that that statement was issued by none other than her own dad, MK President Jacob Zuma. Can you imagine being publicly word-clapped that hard by your father? Imagine your dad taking the other side. Guys, don't work in the family business. It's sticky. By 3 p.m. that same day, more than 12 hours after the 2 a.m. statement, Duduzile had not apologized. And even crazier, those tweets were still up. Then she released a statement apologizing to her dad, to the party, to the people, but not Floyd Shivambu. She didn't even mention his name. She actually dragged him later on in her apology, and the tweets remained up. She clearly did not unconditionally apologize to the person she'd insulted, as the directive told her to do. So we all waited, the whole of South Africa, with bated breath, to see if she would have her membership terminated. Was this a real, properly functioning political party, or would family privilege save South Africa's biggest Nepo baby? Days later, Duduzile released another apology, this time to Floyd Shivambu, among others, and she did delete those tweets. At least she was forced to do that. And now we wait to see if any disciplinary proceedings will come. Because, make no mistake, those tweets are so radically unbecoming of someone seeking political power that she is now a bit of a toxic presence in eNCA, especially since so much of eNCA's support is from broadly rural conservative Zulu South Africans. You can't use the F word over and over and tell someone to go touch themselves if you're wanting to appeal to that base, guys. You can't. And it's dangerous to give preferential treatment to Zuma's family when you are constantly accused of being nothing more than a political stokvel. Remember, eNCA is the party that late last year was accused by its own members of pressuring eNCA members of parliament to send Jacob Zuma money into his personal bank account and buy his cows. That happened. That is mad. And now I should tell you, that's not all that happened in eNCA in this last week, because believe it or not, something else happened that I actually think is crazier than Duduzile's tweets. Disgraced former judge and eNCA leader John Hlophe gave a speech in the State of the Nation Parliament debate, which was really weird because he was supposed to be responding to Ramaphosa's SONA address. But what he did was more of a praise poem glorifying Jacob Zuma. It was so bizarrely out of place that it came across kind of embarrassing for Hlophe. And according to reports, Jacob Zuma was unimpressed and felt there was no need to praise him in the debate. Now, it turns out this is some Game of Thrones people. It turns out that speech wasn't what Hlophe planned to say at all. Apparently, that morning, another eNCA leader, Jimmy Manyi, had handed Hlophe the new speech on the morning of the debate and told Hlophe that this speech had Jacob Zuma's blessing. But Jacob Zuma had nothing to do with this speech. According to sources who were at the meeting afterward, John Hlophe grabbed Manyi by the neck and demanded Manyi answer why he had betrayed him. Manyi then claimed that Floyd Shivambu had given him the speech to give to Hlophe and claimed that Floyd said the speech had Zuma's blessing. If that is true, who is sabotaging who? This literally, it doesn't just feel like Game of Thrones, it feels like when Game of Thrones was good, like season 3 with Spider, this level of court subterfuge. Now, obviously Manyi denies that Hlophe grabbed him by the neck. Of course he does. He can't tell the nation that two old men were living their WWE fantasy at a caucus meeting. But seriously, John Hlophe did not attend the rest of the SONA debate after that meeting. We have to wonder why. So where does this madness leave us? I think the only reasonable conclusion right now is that eNCA is in shambles, guys. It's really hard to take this level of circus acts buffoonery seriously, and it's really hard to imagine that this last week has done anything to convince people to vote for them and trust them to take up political office. One important reminder, though, of course, is that eNCA's millions of voters didn't vote for Duduzile or Floyd or Hlophe or Manyi. They voted for Jacob Zuma. But eNCA's problem right now is that Zuma won't be on the ballot again until the next national election in 2029, by which time he will be 87 years old, and by which time eNCA would have competed in the 2026 local government elections. Judging by how poorly they're doing in by-elections since last May, eNCA is really struggling to turn support for Zuma into support for the party. And with every wild week of insane behavior from other prominent eNCA leaders, it feels less likely that voters will trust the rest of the party in 2026. And if 2026 goes badly, eNCA could be a spent force by 2029 if Zuma is even on the ballot then at all. Does that make sense? So that's all you need to know about the last week of what I remind you is South Africa's third biggest political party by votes.